Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest joining the show this week. If you have a cell phone, you've probably seen him talking about sports or about his Pittsburgh Steelers. Across all of his platforms, he has more than 3.5 million followers and has amassed billions of views. Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Michael Smith.
What's up, Caden? That's a kind intro, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you joining us today. Super excited to talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football with you. At one point, you guys were 10-3, and I think everybody thought the Pittsburgh Steelers were a contender at that point. And then, five straight losses, that embarrassing loss in the division, in the wild card round, excuse me. And I think everybody was like, what's next? What's next for Mike Tomlin? What's next for this quarterback situation? And I'm curious with you because you've been very vocal about the situation. Where are you in terms of Mike Tomlin right now? Because I know you're frustrated with him. And if the Steelers were to let him go, where do they go to?
Well, I want to go back to something you said before that. You said, what's next? What's next? We all know what's next. It's the same. It's the same thing, and it's always been going on. It's that was year 18. We just finished up year 18 of the Mike Tomlin experiment, and the guy's bulletproof. It doesn't matter what happens. I mean, there's a pattern of 8 years now we're working off where he hasn't won a playoff game, and the Steelers don't seem interested at all in making changes. He just had his postseason presser where they asked him about, hey, what about teams that want to trade for you? He said, don't waste your time. So look, he is a no trade clause. The Steelers gave him that. He's clearly got no interest in leaving. The Steelers don't seem to have interest in trading him. That's what's next. It's more of the same.
Yeah.
It's depressing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed with the Steelers, it's felt like over the past few seasons, and I've been talking about this, and a lot of the Pittsburgh Steelers fans have been getting upset with me, but it was like, okay, this is a really good defense, but the offense is never good enough to beat some of the high caliber opponents in the AFC, the Mahomes, the Burrows, the Josh Allen, the Lamars of the world when it mattered the most. And this year made it really ever more clear to me. And I look at the quarterback situation heading into next season with Russell Wilson and with Justin Fields, and it seems like the Steelers are kind of just band-aiding the real problem. They need to go out and get a quarterback, in my opinion. I think they need to go look at a rookie quarterback. I don't think the free agent class is good enough. I'm curious what you think about the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh right now.
Well, I'd agree. The quarterback's not right. We do need to find a quarterback, but this notion that the defense is like this Steelers defense of the past, the teams that won Super Bowls in '05 and '08, it's even the one that went to the Super Bowl in 2010. This is so far from that. I put a stat out there that in the first half of Tomlin's last six playoff games, we're outscored 112-7. I mean, that is pathetic. These games are over well before halftime. The
Yeah.
first quarter of those games is 73 nothing.
Wow.
So the defense is not doing its part either.
Mhm.
Uh, Tomlin's supposed to be a defensive specialist, a master motivator. The team does not come out looking motivated,
Yeah.
Caden. The opposite.
Yeah.
So yeah, the quarterback's super important. And would I have a defensive coach in today's NFL? No, he's the wrong man for the job. You look at the 11 of the last 12 coaches that have coached in the Super Bowl, so losing coaches included here. 11 of them come from offensive backgrounds. The odd man out's Bill Belichick.
Mhm.
So, greatest coach of all time.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear what wins in the NFL right now, and it's not remedial offensive scheming. It's not ground and pound. It's not you know, shut out the other team with your defense. It's scoring points.
Yeah.
And we seem to be incapable on all fronts.
Yeah, I saw you use this stat that Mike Tomlin is the longest active head coach without a playoff win. And it was so surprising to me when I first saw that because you think of all the other coaches and their shelf life. If they truly can't get it done when it matters the most, they get canned. And with Mike Tomlin, like we've been talking about, it's never been, hey, we're going to go get it done in the postseason. People are using this stat and narrative. It's like, hey, if we get over 500, that's cool. But it's like, I'm at the point now, I'm not even a Steelers fan and I'm feeling frustrated for you guys. But on the other side, I'm like, okay, the grass isn't always greener. So I guess my next question for you would be which coach, offensive wise, would you like to see the Steelers go out and get if they had that opportunity?
Well, let's zoom out a little bit here. The correct move would have been moving on. I mean, just, this is hindsight's 2020 and it's easy to play this rewind game, but we can do it. It would have been moving on from him after the 2010 Super Bowl loss to Aaron Rodgers because we never got back to the Super Bowl. So that is the goal. The goal is not like to have a winning season. The goal is not to win the division. I would accept playoff wins as like the standard, something he likes to say a lot. But look, there's nothing, there's no results. So um yeah, the move would have been to move on. The offensive coach that people want to talk about right now is Ben Johnson. Um, there's other guys available too. I would love to see Freeman from Notre Dame
Yeah.
at least interviewed. The Steelers are invented the Rooney Rule. They obviously want to hire minorities.
Mhm.
He's an excellent black coach.
Yeah.
Not that that matters to him. They asked him about that after making the college football final, and he doesn't seem to really care, which is great. I think it should
Yeah.
be merit based. But look, that's something the Steelers are obviously interested in. Give him an interview.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of this coaching cycle more than others. It feels like there's a lot of really qualified candidates, and I know we want to stay away from the defensive guys, but even Aaron Glenn, he's a tremendous candidate as well. You have so many guys out there that could really get the job done. I'm curious also, and then we'll move on here. They're probably going to go into next season with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. What do you think realistically is the expectation for the Steelers next year if they were to keep both of those guys? And if you had the say in it, who do you want them to go out and get in the draft?
Well, I think Fields is going to be there. Everything Tomlin said in his end of season presser indicated that Fields is going to at the very least have a contract and a chance to compete for this job, probably the pole position for this job. They asked him straight up. It was what has Fields done? What hasn't Fields done to make you believe he's a 17 game starter? He's like, he's done everything. He could be a 17 game starter. So look, it was obvious. He talked about how he wants a running quarterback, a mobile quarterback. All of this stuff is anti-Russ. Russ was pretty bad to end the year. Let's just be honest. He's a great guy, but he was pretty bad.
Mhm.
Wasn't making a lot of plays, took a lot of bad sacks, didn't score very many points. Like, there's the easiest way to
Yeah,
look at it.
yeah,
Steelers finished the season the last 5 games on a 5 game losing streak without scoring more than 18.
yeah,
So you're just not going to win many games like that. Defense is bad too, but look, I think Russ is gone. He floated it out there that he wants a $30 million annual contract. So that's lunacy.
yeah.
There's he's 30, he's probably gonna be 37 next year, 36 or 37. That's crazy to me. That is a that is a destructive contract. The Steelers give it to him. I would be shocked. It's not a great draft class of quarterbacks. I don't see the Steelers trading up to draft someone like Shadur or Cam Ward, even though I think Shadur should be available at 21 where the Steelers are drafting.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy to think he's going to go one. Um,
Howard suggested that you guys could give up Watts, George Pickens, and two first round picks to go get Shador.
that is crazy.
Yeah.
What is Shadur particularly good at?
I think he's good at processing the game, but I just don't think he's more of like a Caleb Williams, in my opinion, where he doesn't get the ball out
A
on
very
time.
poor man's Caleb
Yeah,
Williams.
exactly. A poor man's Caleb Williams. He doesn't get the ball out on time. I think Caleb Williams is a lot more athletic, his arm strength in terms of the off-platform throws that he can make. I think Cam Ward is probably the QB1 in this draft. I got to look at the all
I
22,
agree with
though,
you.
but
And I know teams are going to be desperate for quarterbacks, and
it always happens.
maybe Dion's the Cowboys coach, and they end up trading up and trading Dak, something crazy. I
Yeah.
really doubt that's all going to happen. Dak just signed a contract,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers end up drafting someone in like the third or fourth round, or potentially looking at a situation where who knows, maybe Darnold's value is deflated enough from those two ugly losses to end the
Yeah.
season. Maybe he's possible. Um, an old Kirk Cousins maybe comes on to compete for the job. He's going to be in the same position as Russ was last year, where the Falcons are paying his contract. Maybe he comes on for the minimum. I don't know. There's probably a better option for him out there, but something like this, I think you got to string something together where you don't just give the job to Fields, bring someone in to compete.
I completely agree. And I even feel like those free agent quarterbacks, like we keep talking about, are almost like just band-aids. They're just putting band-aids over the problem, and eventually they just get ripped open, like like an older Kirk Cousins, even a Sam Darnold. I don't think Sam Darnold in Pittsburgh would realistically work out because I just think Kevin O'Connell in that Minnesota system fits him so perfectly. And I think any quarterback could go in there and have a lot of success. And that's putting nothing against Sam Darnold. He's had a tremendous season. But I want to shift gears here. You have the Buffalo Bills winning the Super Bowl, watched it in one of your videos. And obviously, Baltimore Ravens knocked off your Steelers. Now we get this all time great matchup this weekend. And we're going to get this narrative between whatever quarterback loses, whether that's Josh or whether that's Lamar. Unfortunately, one of them is going to keep that narrative. It's like, hey, they still can't get it done in the postseason. I'm curious if you're at all worried about your pick, considering that Baltimore is looking so good right now. I'm curious on your thoughts on that game as a whole.
Well, I don't think it's fair to give Josh that same label. Um, we saw him duke it out with Mahomes in the
Yeah.
playoffs, and the defense completely failed him in that game, man. They scored with 13 seconds left. Like he was just dissecting Kansas City and was a superhuman in that game. Um, you can't put that on Josh. There's just no way. He's been awesome in these games. Lamar, on the other hand, has been pretty bad. I mean, he crushed Pittsburgh, but everyone's crushing Pittsburgh lately. Um, so it's a nice playoff win nonetheless, like added to the resume. But I think his touchdown to interception ratio going in was still like 1-to-1, right? It's pretty bad for him in the playoffs so far. He's ugly loss to Tennessee. AFC Championship game last year was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think he's got much more to prove in this game. I still have the Bills. Um, they're going to be home. I think it's a pretty special team this year. No one even gave this offense a chance.
No.
And the defense, they said the whole
Yeah.
defense is
Whole team.
gone.
Yeah.
They traded Stephon Diggs. I mean, I'm so impressed by what they've been able to do. It says a lot about the organization and specifically Josh. Just
Yeah.
being like, I always put the quarterbacks in categories like this. You want to tell me someone's actually a great quarterback, you have to win a game because of them.
Yep.
And I really think that Josh is like one of three guys in the league that you can really say that, like, get on my back. You're winning this game because of me.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like we're at a breaking point almost with Lamar where it's like there's so much pressure on him. Because to your point, Josh Allen had that epic duel with Mahomes where it wasn't his fault that he lost in the postseason. But you're going to have people in the media, regardless. If Josh Allen loses this game, they're still going to say, hey, you couldn't get it done in the postseason. We're not going to give you your flowers. And for Lamar Jackson, it's almost like now he has this secondary closer with Derrick Henry. They've been so dynamic this year. Mark Andrews really turned it on as of late. Isaiah Likely. You just look at the weapons that this team has. I think ultimately Baltimore is going to win this game. And we'll go on to my next question here. These almost are like the two MVP guys right here. And for me, I'm looking at Josh as my winner of the MVP. I'm curious who you have winning this award in such a really teeter-totter race here.
Yeah, I have Josh as well. It's awesome that we get this game. I mean, Lamar is not far behind. He's been so good this year. I've been really critical of him in the past for not really being a very good passer.
Yeah.
And you just can't say that anymore. At least this year, I think what he had 45 touchdown passes, something like that. I mean, he lit it up, man. Like, and these balls, some of them are in tight windows on the run. Like he really came a long way in his ability to be a pocket passer when he needs to be. So he's awesome. I'm not trying to take anything away from Lamar. I think in a lot of ways this season was better than some of his MVP seasons. It's just Josh was superhuman. Um, he's doing it with so much less,
Yeah.
and they did finish with a better record, and that's why they're at home this game. He had a couple more signature plays. This is a narrative award in a lot of ways, and in all the sports. The touchdown that he threw to himself, or that he gets lateraled and dives in the
Oh yeah.
snow. It's
Yeah.
like those things help when you're trying to win an MVP. So I do think he'll win.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And first of all, we're talking about Lamar here. Lamar, what he's doing, I just think he's really on another level right now. What you talked about him evolving as a passer and what he's done. That one throw to Rashad Bateman against you guys rifled it in the back of the end zone. That was one of the more impressive throws I've seen from him. And then he's dancing around in the pocket and hits Justice Hill for that late touchdown at the end of the first half. Like what he's doing right now is so unhuman, and he deserves the MVP every other year. But to your point as well, Josh Allen with the loss of Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis and really being like, okay, we're going to rely on Mac Hollins, Keon Coleman, and Khalil Shakir and James Cook to be our guys. And it was so reminiscent of that Cam Newton 2015 year where it was like, get on my back. I'm going to get you to the Super Bowl right now. And that's what Josh Allen has been doing. Josh Allen, in my opinion, 100% deserves this MVP award. And I want to stay talking about quarterbacks here. And I want to go to CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, in my opinion, after beating Justin Herbert, I don't know where you're at with your top five quarterbacks in the NFL. I have Patrick Mahomes at one, Burrow at two, Josh at three, Lamar at four, and now I have CJ Stroud at number five, leapfrogging Justin Herbert. I'm curious on your thoughts of that list, first of all, and also where are you with CJ Stroud in terms of being a top five quarterback in the NFL?
He's not consistent enough. You know, top five is one way to put it, but if you want to like, if you wanted to do tiers where it's like, this is the great tier. I was pretty harsh on Burrow. I made a video that was like, they started 0-3 and they
Yeah.
lost to the Patriots at home to open the season, and he was bad.
Mhm.
And he never gets criticism when they lose, which is wrong.
It's true.
No, it's like you can't criticize Joe Burrow. But Joe Burrow was great in the second half of the season, like legitimately great. I think he deserves to be in that top tier. I wouldn't put him at two above Allen.
Mhm.
I think it's really strong by you.
Mhm.
But I'm okay with having that tier of Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow. I think Lamar is a tier below that. He doesn't show up in big games. Like, say what you want about Burrow, man, but he was a play away from winning the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
Like, I've seen him in big games before, and he's been awesome. Still deserves criticism when they lose, but I don't think Stroud is particularly close to this group, and certainly not Herbert. Who are your other two to finish it out?
So I had Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar, and then I had Stroud at five. And I originally had Herbert at five and kind of leapfrogged him with what Stroud has done these past 2 years. Sixth quarterback in NFL history to have a playoff win in each of his first two seasons. And this team, he had MVP expectations coming into this year. I believe he was fifth coming into this year in terms of implied odds. And then you look at this team also as a potential Super Bowl contender coming into this year. As a sophomore quarterback, that was just so impressive to me. And it wasn't the season that everyone had expected, but he comes in there, lights up Justin Herbert in that defense, and now they're playing the Chiefs.
That was a weird game.
Yeah.
That was a very strange game, and Herbert throws four interceptions, and two of them are on him, and two of them are kind of strange. But you know, I think the only one close to that top tier is Lamar.
Mhm.
I don't think Stroud and Herbert are particularly close yet. We'll see. I mean, I reserve the right to change my mind when I see Stroud and Mahomes face off here in a couple days.
Yeah.
So look, if he's awesome in this game, that proves a lot to me. You're gonna go into Arrowhead and duke it out with Mahomes. Damn, all right. I'm gonna have to reconsider.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't expect him to knock off Patrick Mahomes at all. I think the Chiefs are going to three-peat. I don't think anyone can stop this team. But in terms of where I have Joe Burrow at number two, I look at first of all the greatness of Patrick Mahomes, and he's only lost in the postseason three times. Two of those, of course, are to the GOAT, Tom Brady. The other one is to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow went on the road, beat him in Arrowhead, and he would have beat him again if it weren't for that late unnecessary roughness on the sideline. He could have had another shot at beating him again, and no other quarterback has even sniffed him. Has really even come close. You can say Josh Allen, but at the end of the day, Joe Burrow, he has that it factor, and you can say it's the weapons. You can say that it's what the play calling has been defensively because they had that great second half. But I think it's all Joe Burrow, and he's just so money when it comes down the stretch.
He's been great in big games. There's no denying it. He's been just nowhere near consistent enough in the regular season, though. I mean, look, Caden, he didn't make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
Part of that's on him, man. He did not play well in the first 8 games, and that's the reason they're sitting at home right now. So you're never going to see Mahomes do that. You're never going to see, has Josh Allen, since year three, has Josh Allen even come close to sitting at home?
Nope. And this was supposed to be the year that was potentially that was up in the air.
Yeah, so I have to knock him for that.
Mhm.
It's not that hard to make the playoffs in the NFL. They put a seventh seed in. So look, you got to make the dance, man. The Steelers are in there, and at least they're in there. They're getting the doors blown off, but at least they're in there, man.
Yeah. I just look at the entirety of that team. It's like Evan McPherson missing all those field goals where they could go the other way, or even the Ravens putting up 44 points against them. And it's like the Bengals put up 40 points as well. It's like if you're an NFL team putting up 40 points, I don't see a world in which you should lose a game. But I want to move on to the divisional round here. In a game that I'm so excited for, this Philadelphia Eagles Rams game. I've been a huge really defender of the Rams all season long. And I'm curious your thoughts on this game. I'm curious on your thoughts of this passing attack from Philadelphia because it didn't look great last week and it was kind of an anemic offensive performance from the Packers, but Saquon Barkley was able to bail him out, had some big time runs, and Philadelphia won that game. But I'm curious your thoughts on this game and this Philadelphia offense.
I've been high on the Rams too all season. I mean, it was tough when they didn't have any receivers.
Mhm.
There was no Puka and there was no Cup for a while there.
And even the O line was battered.
Yeah, they battled this year. McVay is so tough, man. Like this was supposed to be a team that was rebuilding.
Yeah.
They were shopping players around at the deadline.
Mhm.
Like they were supposed to be a seller and they stuck to their guns and now they're in the second round of the playoffs. Like it's so impressive what McVay is able to do year after year after year. I think he's the only one that's really contending for the great tier of coaches. Like I have Belichick, like the modern great tier. Belichick and Reed.
Mhm.
Those are the only, I know Belichick's retired now, but those are the only two like relatively active guys that I have up there. He's next, man. Like he does this all the time. Aaron Donald retires. His receivers are hurt. They're supposed to be rebuilding. They had no draft picks. Like when's the
Yeah.
last time they drafted in the first round?
Yeah.
It's crazy what this guy's been able to do. And even some of the trades they made, like Ramsey's not on the team. Um, he's not, right? He's not still on the
No,
team.
no, they
Oh.
got rid of Ramsey. They shopped. I mean, they've lost so many defensive players. Like this defense was up in complete jeopardy this year, and they're relying on such a
And
young defensive line, and they've come up so clutch.
and they finally do have a first round pick and they nail it, man. Jared Verse was so good in that
So good.
game. He's excellent. And I think on the other side, Philadelphia kind of seems like they're just patching it together just enough here. I made a video early on in the season talking about, I mean, you guys need to get off Sirianni. And then he strung together like 13 straight
Yeah,
wins or something.
yeah,
So I think that guy should not be on the hot seat. He's a better coach than everyone in Philadelphia seems to think. Like I would take him over Mike Tomlin every single day of the week. Um, but they seem like they're kind of in disarray right now. Like AJ Brown's still kind of like pouting on the sideline because he's not getting the ball enough. It's like it's a playoff game, man. You guys are winning. Like, can you just pretend like you're being a team player for a minute here? And the last time they really got called out for that, they got to play the Steelers the next week, and AJ Brown lit it up.
yeah,
So who knows, man? This is a volatile team. I don't really trust them. Um, I tend to believe more in the Rams' ability to kind of keep it together and battle here. And it seems like they're playing for something bigger too.
yeah.
They didn't get the home game in the first round. They did the big tribute for the wildfires in LA,
So awesome.
and they come out just blazing. No pun intended.
Yeah,
And I don't know, man. Like that kind of seems like team of destiny right now.
yeah. I completely agree with you. I think when you've looked at this Rams squad over the last 2 years, it's been like, hey, this team can win because the offense is so great. In my opinion, I think Stafford is the best quarterback in the NFC. He's the only active quarterback that has a ring in the NFC. And I think Sean McVay, at the same token, is the best head coach in the NFC. And when you have a duo like that, you're going to win a lot of football games. But now in that Minnesota wild card round, you're like, okay, now this team can win because of its defense. 9 sacks, tying a playoff record. I've been so impressed with this Rams team. Like you said, I think they've been so underrated, so counted out because of the injuries they had earlier in the year. At one point, we're 1-4, got to 4-4, won 6 out of their final 9 games. Were able to get that final week of rest. But I think this Rams team, if they can slow down Saquon Barkley, force Jalen Hurts to beat them, I could see them winning this game, Frank.
The Stafford take is interesting. Who would be second in that conversation?
Who would be second in that conversation?
I
There's
think
a
a lot of people probably would have said like Jordan Love.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jared
You'd have
Goff,
some
maybe. I was
Goff
there's
for
a few
sure.
different
Goff,
there's a few
Goff
different
was
guys.
awesome this year. I think there's a legitimate argument for Goff. I mean, he's gonna get MVP votes, not first place votes. Um,
I would have thought Brock Purdy would be a little bit closer if you would have talked to me about this last
yeah.
year, but not this year, just because of the injuries. But yeah, I would have said Jordan Love, but that was an anemic postseason performance this last weekend. I wouldn't say Jalen Hurts is better than him. But now that you're thinking about it, it's kind of like nobody talks about Matthew Stafford, excuse me.
No, there's no conversation.
No conversation. And I would die on that hill that he's the best quarterback in the NFC and that Sean McVay, like you said, the best head coach in the NFC. And when you have a duo like that, no matter the age, they're going to win a lot of football games. And this team, I think, can absolutely go out there and upset Philadelphia.
You know the difference between Stafford and some of these older quarterbacks, like you got the guys hanging on, like I think you could put Russ in that category now. Like Russ and Cousins and Rodgers and I don't know, maybe I'm missing one. But Stafford is still like he's kind of got the old Brady thing where he's never been very mobile, but
Mhm,
he still moves around pretty nice in the pocket. He still feels people really well. His arm is still strong enough that he can throw in the move either way.
mhm.
And they scheme people open, man. They don't make his life that hard. Where it's like, my God, when I watch the Rams play, I'm like, why isn't anyone ever that open for the Steelers? Like there's just guys running wide open over the middle of the field. I'm
Yeah.
like, can we just copy that play? Just
Yeah.
copy that and practice it for a week. Let's run that. I just want to see it once where we have a guy that open.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been unbelievable to watch this Rams team. Like we keep talking about the adversity that they face, like the wildfires too. I was at that game, the Vikings Rams game. So many Vikings fans there, like ridiculous. That was not a home game for Los Angeles at all. And they just keep battling adversity. They keep fighting through it. And this team, Philadelphia, I think they're playing a little tight right now. And I think maybe some of it has to do with the rust Jalen Hurts had because he was out for like 2.5 weeks, that concussion. But I keep looking at Philadelphia almost like the Boston Celtics until they were finally able to get over that hump. It's like, cool, we know you have a great roster. We know you can get it done in the regular season, but we don't care. We want to see you get it done in the postseason. And until then, we're going to keep criticizing you. And that's what it was for Boston last year and the years leading up to it. And that's what it is for Philadelphia. Can they get over the hump? We'll see. But I think the Rams can give them a great shot. Frank, really appreciate you joining the show. Ladies and gentlemen back home, you guys can check him out on all platforms at Frank Michael Smith. Really appreciate you joining the show, my guy.
Caden, a pleasure. Thanks, man.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.